Well, sunshine has returned to Oregon, and boy, does it feel good. We've had way too much rain lately. So, in spite of the stay-at-home orders, though, my wife and I have been getting out every day to walk the dog. Mainly because, well, two reasons. We like walking. We walk a lot. It's great to walk together. But the dog really insists. Scruffy says, when we're up and moving, he's like, we got to go for a walk like now. So it's been great though. Yesterday was 5 miles. Day before it was 5 miles. Day before it was like 4.2, and the last string of days have been around about 3 miles. Although we had one day we actually got rained on. We've been able to squeeze the walks in before it starts to rain, and so that's why we were able to walk 3 or 4 miles. And then the one day it rained, we do our typical just around the loop, which is like 1.2 miles. Anyway, how are you doing? That's the most common question I get these days, and the most common one I ask of folks when I talk to them on the phone, whether it's a business colleague or an old friend. It's like, how you doing, man? And everyone has a little bit different story, a little bit different take, and a little bit different experience. And they all have a little bit different take on the news they read, too. And so it's interesting to hear that. Hey, this is Tim Patterson, and this is Trade Show Guy Monday Morning Coffee for April 6th, 2020. Coming to you from Salem, Oregon, from Trade Show Guy Exhibits. You can go to TradeshowGuyExhibits.com. And also, I would suggest going to our main hub site, which is TradeshowGuy.net. You can link to the Trade Show Guy Exhibits, as well as the books that I've got published, Trade Show Success and Trade Show Superheroes and Exhibiting Zombies. It's all right there, along with some freebies. A few other fun things. I also post the video and the audio of this particular program there. It gets updated every week. So TradeshowGuy.net. It's a single page, but it's got a lot of fun stuff on it. Check it out. Some freebies there. We talk about this COVID-19 coronavirus, and I read a lot of things, and I subscribe to a number of newsletters that are in this kind of the sales world. Jeff Bajorek is one. Jeffrey Gitomer is one. There's a couple of others. Michael Cordone. I'm not sure of his first name, but anyway, there's a bunch of them out there, and they're all talking about pushing forward, still doing sales, even though it's a little different. But I've been hearing the last week or two, people are talking about recovery, and I think that's great. You need to talk about that. You need to figure out what the next steps are after this is over. But I think that's the key phrase: after this is over. I heard something from Bill Gates the other day. He's thinking that this may be going on another year to a year and a half until we find out how we're actually going to stop and contain the coronavirus, COVID-19, and get a vaccine done and get everyone into it. And the herd immunity comes along. And I mean, it's way beyond my understanding, but the whole idea that this is going to go on for another few months or 6 months or 10 months or a year or more, I think really a lot of people can't wrap their head around it, and I'm slowly trying to wrap my head around it, but I just think it's going to be a lot longer than people think. What does that mean? I don't know. Can restaurants stay closed for another 6 months or through the year? I mean, that would be crazy. But we're in the midst of something which is unprecedented in our lifetime, and it's just going to be different. I think it's going to be hard for a lot of people. So last week, by the way, I put a post up on LinkedIn inviting people to get back to me if they wanted to be on this program, and I heard from a handful of folks. Thank you very much for reaching out. The first one I was able to set up an interview with was Heather Haigler out of North Carolina with a company called Switch 4. She's on the other side of the country. And so we worked out a schedule, and like everyone else that I seem to be talking to, she's working on how to work at home, adjust and juggle things with her family and keep things going, with kids. The company she works for is Switch 4. It's pretty cool. She'll talk about when we get to the interview, but basically they've come up with a software that exhibitors can use to keep track of all the moving parts in their exhibiting program. And we know, as exhibitors, there are lots of moving parts in the exhibitor program, so we'll learn about this as well. Fun chat. Heather Haigler, this is how it went. I want to welcome Heather Haigler to Trade Show Guy Monday Morning Coffee. Heather, I really appreciate you spending some time with me. Thank you very much. How are you doing, by the way?
Absolutely. I'm happy to be here, and I'm doing great. Sun is shining outside. We're having a beautiful day here, so doing right.
And so where is here for you? I'm in Oregon. You're on the other side of the country, as I understand.
Yes, I'm in North Carolina.
There you go. And the company is Switch 4. Tell me about the situation of the company and the software. We were kind of talking in the green room about that. So let's recap all of that.
Yeah, so Switch 4, our company, we were founded in 2016. I started with our parent company, Glen Raven, in 2008, but my career there was all trade shows and events. And through the experience in that position, just realized how disjointed a lot of the processes were. And that's what brought the idea of Work Trip, which is our product.
Excuse me.
To kind of life and to help event planners be more efficient in connecting with their teams and bringing all that information into one place.
So what did you do with events and trade shows with that company? Did you put them on? Were you an organizer? Did you work with clients that did them? I'm just curious to dig a little more into that.
Yeah, so our flagship brand, which was Sunbrella, we organized the trade shows for that brand. So it was all internal. We were participating in over 100 events a year. Wow. And had a small team, but we did trade shows, we did customer experience events, we did brand launches, product launches, and kind of the whole thing.
So you've had your fingers in the thick of trade shows and events for quite some time, it sounds like.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
So tell me, you came up with this idea. You said there's so many disparate parts in all of that. And I would agree. There's just so many moving parts in the trade show world. And so what was your approach? How did you decide to do something about it? You talked about software. So let's talk about that. What is that? What's that look like?
Yeah, so we were using a lot of spreadsheets. We were using a lot of email, and seemed like nobody was reading our email. I mean, everybody gets a ton of information every day, and so I just thought there had to be a better way to do it. So we had looked into other tools that might help us get to where we needed to be, but nothing seemed to really fit our needs. And so kind of the idea of Work Trip was bringing together the details, bringing together product information, all the things that you would put into a large email that nobody reads, right. All of that in one application, so planners have the access they need, and so do travelers or people attending the event.
Right. So what is it? Is this a software you're selling or leasing, or however that works, to who's an ideal client, I guess, that would someone benefit from using something like that?
Our ideal client is a company who participates in trade shows, participates in meetings, has a lot of internal meetings. Now those are being done virtually, and we do have functionality to support that. Customer events, any kind of experience for the brand, a customer or client onboardings, employee onboardings, any kind of just, you need to connect people and get them the information. Really, it can be used for any of that. So
all the information goes in there, that whoever needs the access to that goes through that portal, I guess, for lack of a better term, to get all that information. And so interesting to hear how that works. So how's that played out over the last few years? When did this piece of software actually debut?
We debuted in 2018 at Exhibitor Live, which great show, trade show for trade show people, which I love.
Terrific trade show, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and we went through a pilot year where we just wanted to get customers or trade show planners, event planners, meeting planners using it so that we could get feedback. Our development process is all about getting the feedback from people who are using it. So we went through that, and then in 2019 we did a more a bigger launch at Exhibitor Live again with some new functionality. So
what was the response? I'm just curious, when you talk to people one-on-one, and maybe even you talked to, at that point, people that had used it for a little while, what kind of feedback were you getting? Were they really kind of breaking it apart and say, this works, that doesn't work? I'm just curious what kind of things stuck out to you as you were through that process, because obviously you're pretty early in the whole thing at this point still.
Yeah, the first reaction we had at Exhibitor Live the first year we were there, our theme was, do you feel like you're herding cats all the time? And planners really could identify with that feeling. And I think that was a good start for the planners to understand how we are bringing all of that information together and connecting all the parts and all the people. And so after we had companies using it and giving us feedback, I mean, it was a tremendous amount of feedback, but good, bad, everything. But that's what makes our product so useful. We want all that feedback. So it was, we need more visibility into kind of a planner visibility mode where not everything is shared between the people viewing the information and the planner who needs, BEOs, contracts, and that sort of thing. So there were just some, tweaks and additional features that they would give us feedback, like it'd be really great if it did this. And,
Right. Yeah.
So it was all really great experience.
Yeah, and I'm sure that as time goes on, you'll continue to get more and more feedback, and that'll help refine it, I guess. I'm guessing you were probably planning to be at Exhibitor Live this year,
Yes.
but nothing is happening, of course.
Yes, we were, and had as I was going to be speaking, and so hopefully that we'll be able to have it in August. They've tentatively set the dates for August, but
right, yeah. We cross our fingers for those types of things, that because I know that the exhibit and events industry is just not happening right now. Everything is shut down. So how are you guys dealing with it from that aspect? Obviously, we all depend, as my business does, depend on those events happening and working with clients. We do design and fabrication of the exhibits, and so everyone's just putting everything on hold. I'm just curious what your experience is in that area with your clients and the people you work with.
Sure. From our clients, I think planners and anybody in the event industry right now has been affected, and kind of took the first couple of weeks to figure it out. It's hard to understand where everything's going, but to kind of pick up the pieces and dust ourselves off at Work Trip. Our main goal is to service and make things easier for planners. So we're communicating how we can help. We're actually offering free access to the platform right now. We're building in, as we speak, our developers are building in some additional features and functionality to support virtual meetings and conferences like we're doing here. So a web presence for supporting that. And we're paying attention to the market. We're paying attention to how planners are feeling, what they're going through, and trying to be really sensitive to that, and just help in any way we can.
So you mentioned you have free access to it. Is that limited for a limited time, or limited number of people? I mean, for instance, I've got a handful of clients that might be interested in taking a look at it. How would that work if you had someone that wanted just to sign up and explore it?
Yeah, we are not putting a time limit right now. I mean, we just have kind of launched this campaign. The way we work, as I mentioned before, is getting all of that feedback and having people in it with the new virtual experience and functionality that we're going to have. The more people that use it and give us that feedback, the better we'll be. But right now we just want to help. So
would it be more for a larger team, a moderate to large team, versus a smaller company that only has 2 or 3 people involved in it, that only does a couple of shows a year? Is there a sweet spot that would be a great fit? I know we talked about an ideal client, but is there like a sweet spot that just kind of makes sense and others wouldn't?
I think if we broaden the kind of the view of it and the use case to meetings, to employee onboarding and things like that, there really isn't, too small or too big. The types of events that the company does, if there are a lot of people going or now attending or joining a virtual meeting, we definitely can accommodate that. But there really isn't, when I started to kind of ideate this whole software, it really didn't fit into one vertical, one industry, one company size, one type of business. It seemed very neutral in the way that it can be used. So
Gotcha. So and maybe not one size fits all, but certainly a lot of different could fit into that and make it work for them. So interesting.
yes, absolutely.
So before we wrap it up here, Heather, I really appreciate you again spending time. I'm just curious how you're working from home now, I presume. How is that working for you?
Yes, it's working okay. So I'm here with my husband. And
what have you learned from working from home for a few weeks?
Well, we've had to kind of break up the day a little bit. So I do some work in the morning, then I take care of the kids, then we switch in the afternoon. So it's kind of being very efficient with your time when you have time to work. So I've learned a little bit more about time management, just self-care too, getting outside and walking and, breaking the day up a little bit, getting your mind off of what's going on.
Right.
That kind of thing.
Right.
But
yeah, I think communication is obviously a big key, so that I have this I need to do, you have what you need to do, and so you just kind of sit down and go over it, and you say, we got to get that walk with the dog in, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, so, dinner conversation is, what meetings do you have tomorrow? Right. Like, what are we doing here?
And it could change day to day. You may have like 3 meetings in the morning and whatever. So, and not the following day. So Heather, I appreciate you spending time. Let's put out the web address and how people can get a hold of you. And we'll also put in the show notes that if they want to get a free trial, they can do that as well. So let's figure out how the best way people can find you.
Yeah, worktrip.com is our website. I can share some additional information with you that you can put in below the video later.
Okay.
But worktrip.com, and then there's some information there about our free access.
Very good. Heather, thanks again, and good luck working from home, and we'll get through all of this. We know we will. So hang in there. Thank you again for your time. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. You too. Thanks.
Thanks again to Heather Haigler of Switch 4. Check out the website worktrip.com, and they're giving away free access to the software right now. It's only been out for a year or two, so it's not, I don't think it's the final version, it sounds like, but it certainly is something that if you as an exhibitor can take a look at. And right now when you're not doing shows, now might be the time to kind of test run it and see what kind of things you can put in there, gameplay a few shows along the way. So check it out, worktrip.com. This week's one good thing to wrap up the show, I got an email the last couple of days from Xfinity. They've been offering some free access to some of their premium channels, and one of them is Epix, EPIX. But they said you should watch this because we have all the James Bond movies, and you can stream them all. And I thought, man, there's like, 20, 24, 25 James Bond movies? There's a lot of them. That would be a lot of binge watching of Bond binging. But I'm a Bond fan. It might be fun to watch a few of the old ones. Who's your favorite Bond? Was it Sean Connery? Was it Roger Moore? Timothy Dalton? Daniel Craig? I always liked Sean Connery first, I think, and Daniel Craig would be a close second. I think Daniel Craig kind of put something different into that, with a Bond with a chip on his shoulder, as opposed to Sean Connery's Bond as entertaining, suave guy. Anyway, that's check it out. Epix through Xfinity is offering free access, and all the Bond movies are there. Have a great week, and stay safe, stay healthy. This is Tim Patterson checking out from Trade Show Guy Monday Morning Coffee.